World Hepatitis Day, we are discussing a brief on this. We have our renowned gastroenterologist Dr. Joydeep Sarkar and Dr. Ishan Sen with us. Over to Dr. Ishan.
Good evening, everyone. Hepatitis is such a burning issue in today's world with more than 300 million people worldwide suffering from some kind of hepatitis or the other. So obviously on this World Hepatitis Day, we have a lot of questions and we would like to clear a lot of misconceptions and try and understand this disease better. So Dr. Joydeep Sarkar, I would like to ask you a few questions. Okay. What are the types of hepatitis that we are dealing with?
Actually, hepatitis is a very dreaded disease today, and the major reasons of hepatitis are basically due to alcohol and viruses. Alcohol only, number of alcoholic patients are increasing day by day, and viral hepatitis is still present like before, though some of the viruses are decreasing in its prevalence because of good drugs, good vaccines and all these things. But still now, I think number one will be viral hepatitis and number two will be alcoholic liver disease. Apart from that, some other causes are also there, like drugs, like toxins, which are often, sometimes we cannot get the reason for, answer for what is the cause of the hepatitis. And it is seen that even some Ayurvedic preparations or some toxins are behind such a kind of dreaded disease. And sometimes we take some medicines which are very well-known medicines like anti-tubercular drugs, which are quite known to all of us in Indian setup. But that drug can be a number one cause for hepatitis in our country.
Right. So we talked about how viruses are still a leading cause of hepatitis. So what are the types of viruses that can cause hepatitis?
Viruses are, there are basically 4 or 5 types of viruses which are known as hepatotrophic viruses. They do harm to many parts of the body, but the major branch of attack is on the liver. Of them, hepatitis A, B, C and E. These 4 viruses are most important. There one more virus is there for hepatitis D, which usually does not manifest on itself. It comes on top of hepatitis B. So these are all over the world.
How does one get hepatitis? How is it transmitted?
Hepatitis is transmitted basically by 2 different ways. One is fecal-oral route in medical language, which means they are waterborne viruses. Through food and water, they comes to our body, like hepatitis A and hepatitis E. Whereas hepatitis B and C, they are blood-borne, blood route. And
so how can we prevent hepatitis?
For prevention, obviously we know the route. As I already mentioned, that hepatitis A and E usually comes through food and water. So we should avoid contaminated food and water. Particularly, should not take food from unhygienic places. And for hepatitis B and C, we should try to avoid blood contact with a contaminated person. For that, we should use safe needle, safe syringe, and all these things. And we should take also take vaccination in order to prevent hepatitis B. So, inadvertent sexual practice and syringe use of multiple use of the same syringe, they are the usual cause of hepatitis B and C. So you have to be cautious about that.
Are there any specific dietary modifications that can prevent hepatitis?
No, not really. Diet may be important when one acquire hepatitis, but it cannot prevent hepatitis. So dietary modification cannot ensure that your patient will not get hepatitis.
How does one know that he has got hepatitis? What are the symptoms?
Actually, symptoms of hepatitis are very, of which most important symptom is anorexia, nausea and vomiting. The patient will not lose his appetite. He will feeling like vomiting, and he'll have a feel, and he'll feel extremely tired in hepatitis patients initially. There may be fever along with that. And some of the patients, they develop fever at the beginning, and after some days they develop jaundice. This is quite common in hepatitis E and sometimes hepatitis B also. So these are the usual symptoms which we come across before the patient develops hepatitis.
And how do we clinically diagnose
And
hepatitis?
clinically, after that, the patient invariably develops jaundice. And when jaundice develops, the fever goes away. And then patient can have severe jaundice, anorexia, and all these things. But gradually, anorexia, nausea, fever, they subside. But the patient develops gradually progressive bilirubin, high bilirubin, yellow discoloration of the urine, extreme weakness, and all these things.
And how do we investigate the disease?
For investigation is aimed basically at the cause of the disease. Like one who is alcoholic, in that case, much investigations is not required. But for viral hepatitis, we should pinpoint which virus has caused this. For that, hepatitis A and E, we do IgM of the antibodies, hepatitis A, antibodies of hepatitis A and E. For B and C, we look for Australia antigen for hepatitis B and anti-HCV for hepatitis C. This is the serological marker. But before that, we should know that the patient is having hepatitis by looking at the liver function report, where we get bilirubin raised, we get liver enzymes, SGPT, SGOT raised, alkaline phosphatase, and all these things. Then we should also do an ultrasound at the same time, just to rule out if there is an obstructive cause, stone or neoplasia tumor or something is there. So that is basically our diagnosis of exclusion, and by doing this serological test and liver concentration, we actually come to the diagnosis of hepatitis.
Are there any short-term or long-term complications of hepatitis?
Yeah, complications are always there. That's why it is so dreaded, so curious disease. Because hepatitis patients, if their bilirubin is too high, they can develop encephalopathy, even at the acute stage or in the chronic stage, wherever it is. In acute stage, we call it fulminant hepatic failure, acute liver failure, or all. So patients develop encephalopathy means that this we teach our patients that the disease has gone to the brain from the liver. That means the patient will have irrelevant talk, will have abnormal behavior, confusion, and all these things during encephalopathy. And in chronic hepatitis, patients often develop ascites. There is plenty of fluid in the abdomen. Patient develops bleeding in the form of blood vomiting and black stool. Patient can have encephalopathy and all these things. So chronic liver disease is very dangerous because of its complications, and for that early treatment is very much important.
And how do we manage this hepatitis patients, especially chronic infection patients?
Yeah, for chronic infection, hepatitis patients, first you have to confirm the diagnosis. And for that, this time definition is important, that the illness or the jaundice should be more than 6 months. But sometimes we cannot come across the jaundice patients, but still they may have chronic hepatitis. So in that case, you have to go for the serology test, or HbSAg or anti-HCV, and then you have to go for the DNA or RNA status, HBV DNA or HCV RNA, how much it is. If it is very high, then you have to treat it, and they'll have to give proper treatment in the form of injections or tablets. For tablets, we have now telbibudin, very important tablet, important and very promising tablet for hepatitis B. And for hepatitis C, there are sofosbuvir, velpatasvir, these sort of tablets are there recently. And usual treatment was interferon, that was an injection which had so many toxicities. And because of toxicities, no longer it is used, but tablets are very promising and less toxic.
We talked about vaccines being an important part of the prevention.
Yes, for prevention.
Who do you think should or should not get vaccines?
I think essentially everyone should get the vaccine of hepatitis B, because that's the only way to prevent the illness. Otherwise, hepatitis B, once it develops, it's very difficult to treat it, very difficult to cure it rather. Hepatitis C can be cured, but hepatitis B cannot be cured. That's a very interesting topic about hepatitis B. But somehow, to prevent hepatitis B, everybody should be vaccinated, including the child who is getting birth. On day 1, he should be vaccinated, and even 80-year-old guy should also get vaccine for hepatitis B.
And since we are on the topic of vaccines, in today's scenario, can all chronic hepatitis patients take COVID vaccine? It is safe.
Yes, COVID vaccine, it is safe for all patients with hepatitis. except a few, I think, where the platelet count is very low, INR is very high. They are the patients who have potentiality for bleeding. But even if bleeding occurs, generally due to COVID, it is usually superficial bleeding, can be managed anyway. So essentially, every patient with chronic hepatitis should take COVID vaccination in today's scenario.
Thank you, Dr. Sarkar, and I hope this clears a lot of doubts among us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.